What's going on, guys? The one, the only Raccoon City Survivor here, and I am bringing you today my very first video of the channel. I'm super excited to bring this to you guys, and we are kicking it off with a bang. Today, as you see in the title, we are starting with my hopes and my fears for the Resident Evil 2 remake, going to be released in January of 2019, guys. And this is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. Resident Evil 2 is actually my favorite game of all time. This is something that I remember playing as a kid, something that I grew up playing over and over and over and over again. And it's just great to see it come back with new graphics, just remade and completely redesigned. It's something that you'll see during the video, the difference comparisons between what we had back then and what we're getting now, and it's amazing to me. I'm super excited to see what Capcom's going to do with it, how they're going to, reimagine something that was so great from the start. So there's going to be a lot of opinions here, a lot of things to talk about, guys, a lot of stuff that you may not agree with, a lot of stuff that you may agree with. Either way, I want to know what you think down in the comments below. Are you guys digging the remake? Are you excited for it? Are you as excited for it as I am? Let me know your feelings below. It's all a community, and I'm bringing this to you for your guys' discussion. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in your comments, and I want to know if you agree with some of my things or if you disagree, and what your feelings are about it. So feel free to comment below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, that way you know when we have any future updates here on the Raccoon City Survivor, as well as smash that like for me. It does help out tremendously, guys, so thank you very much, and without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So first and foremost, guys, one of my biggest hopes for this game is that the RE engine does RE2 justice. From what we've seen at Gamescom and from what we've seen released throughout this campaign, every single thing has looked phenomenal. I think that they all look fantastic. The design is great. The shadowing is great. The character designs, I do have a little bit of up and down with it, but overall they look phenomenal. Their design is flawless. And comparing it to what we've had in the past, it just is extremely different, and it looks so much better. I think that this is going to allow the newer fans coming over from Resident Evil 7, and ones that haven't really dove into the past lore, the past story behind Resident Evil, are going to really be able to enjoy this game simply for the fact of the way that it's been redesigned and reshaped into the new RE engine and the new system that they have. And it allows fans to get to know the characters, and I feel really connect with them. Before, in 1998, when Resident Evil 2 was originally released, we could make out character faces, we knew what they looked like, but overall we didn't have a depiction of these people other than what was drawn and what was given to us on covers and in cover art or book art. And to be able to see them on screen and be able to really interact with them, I think it gives fans a different aspect of the game and a different understanding for who these people are and what they're really going through, which I think is really cool. I think that that's going to add a different dynamic and really bring in a lot of people to enjoy this game a little bit more than before. Now, with that being said, one fear that I have for this is that it's going to be a little bit too similar to an RE7 type system, where in Resident Evil 7 we had, as you see on screen, the items locations where you could see items located in around the map. You had a button that showed you what button to press to pick things up, which, yes, it does make that easier for the newer fans and the younger generation to play, but it does take away from some of what Resident Evil is, in my opinion. The puzzle solving, the making it difficult to find keys and understand the map and really do some digging and really have to search and look for things. And that's what I loved about this series, is that they made you think, and it really made you work to beat the game. With the new system and the new upgrades, I feel with the new system, not only have they made it easier for people to complete the game and actually progress through it, but they also have done a lot of almost cookie cutter things from Resident Evil 7 and put them into Resident Evil 2, which is another fear of mine, that this game is going to be too similar to Resident Evil 7 without the first person aspect. And there's a lot of things that we've seen in gameplays from Gamescom and things that have been released on YouTube all over that are very similar to designs we've seen in Resident Evil 7. The box in the garage before you fight Jack for the first time, where you have to cut the tape open with a knife, that same box is in Resident Evil 2, and I've seen gameplay of Leon having to cut a box with caution tape on it to open it up and provide power to a door. I don't want to see a lot of that copy and paste kind of things. I've seen tons of yellow caution tape. I've seen crates. I mean, the item system, that pickup, the item inventory system is identical, which again, that has been redesigned in the RE's engine. I understand why that looks similar, but being a fan of the original Resident Evil 2, I would have loved to see a redesign of our original inventory screen. You know, that iconic blue screen. We have our health bar in the top. We'll have all our items off to the right, and just that open space to view and to examine things. I think that would have been the best way to go in this one. It's just such an iconic screen, and I don't know that this RE7 inventory system really does RE2 justice. Again, a lot of opinion here, guys. You guys can feel however you want about it, but for me, I enjoy the classics. I enjoy the nostalgia of playing a game that's been remade. So I would have loved to have seen the remaster or remake of our original inventory screen instead of, again, the cookie cutter copy and paste of the new inventory screen into this remastered game. Is the same box, only black, and has an RPD symbol on it. I don't want to see a lot of copy and paste. I want to see them put the effort. I want to see a real redesign, and that's a fear of mine, is that they're going to do a lot of this copy and paste to get it out type thing and not really put the time and effort that a classic like this really deserves. So I hope that that's not the case. I hope that that's only in certain areas and they don't have too much of that, but I have seen it, and it is definitely a fear of mine going forward with this remake. Now this one, guys, I am chalking up as a fear. I don't know if it's something I need to fear or if it's something that I'm just afraid of at this point, but it is the new camera angle system, guys. The over-the-shoulder camera for Resident Evil 2. I do love what they did with the flashlight and making it a little difficult to find items, being able to check around corners, things of that nature. Obviously, that's what today's gaming is used to, and that's what a lot of people that play games now are ready for and prepared for. I was a fan of the fixed camera angles. I would love that we didn't know what was around a corner. Even if there was a zombie there and we heard him groaning, we couldn't see him. We didn't know if it was 1. We didn't know if it was 3. We didn't know if it was 10. We didn't know. It was always a surprise, and that was the coolest thing to me. Same thing with walking through doors. Now we can, crack a door, creep, maybe assess the situation before we go into a room and see what our best strategy is. Before, you just had to jump into it. It was the loading screen, black screened out, walk through the door, boom, surprise, the 5 zombies in the room, and you had to figure out how to beat them and how to defeat that without dying. I think that gave a different dynamic to the game, and it made it an actual survival type game. It was cool to be able to jump in and just fight and have fun. And with this new system, it does make it modern, it does make it new, and it will make it enjoyable for people that have played games today. I think that the fixed camera angles and things of that nature are going away. I don't think that it's something that people enjoy as much in today's gaming world. I think that it's something that we have to adapt with, and this camera system is going to be something we're going to have to adapt with, which is why I don't think I need to fear it as much as I do. I don't think it's going to be much different than any other new games that are coming out recently. So my only fear is that the aiming and the fighting is going to take some time getting used to, and people are going to die a little bit more often in the beginning. But other than that, I think that it's going to be interesting. I think that it's going to give a different style, make you have to play it a little bit differently, and make the game a little bit different from what it was before. So we're not playing the same game that we played in 1998. We're actually playing something new, and it feels new. So another thing I'm super stoked for in this is the return to survivor mode, guys, and we also are getting Tofu and Hunk back, which is great to hear because they're such an iconic piece of Resident Evil 2. A lot of people didn't know about it. You had to unlock this through different challenges throughout playing the game, which was really, really cool to do, and gave you some replayability to it as well. So it's cool to see them bring them back. I'm hoping that they're not DLC. I'm hoping that this is something that maybe is going to be given to us at launch or is going to be released as a free DLC. I don't think that we should have to pay for anything additional into this game. The collector's edition itself is $200. The other editions are well, above the normal price point. I don't think that we should have to buy a deluxe edition or buy, an above standard edition to enjoy this game fully and get all the DLC and anything that comes along with it. I think that Resident Evil 2 is, again, a staple in gaming. I think that Capcom does things differently, and I think that they can make this a game where DLC is free, and that you don't have to pay anything additional if you don't want to, and I think that that would make fans very, very, very happy. So I'm hopeful for these game modes. I'm fearful that there'll be DLC, but I'm very, 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 very excited nonetheless to be able to play as my boy Tofu again, guys. Another thing I'm pretty hopeful for is that there's going to be some new game modes for us to try out. There's going to be new characters, new things to discover, new areas within the map. I really hope that it's a very similar concept to what they did with the original Resident Evil remake, where they had the game identical, but there was new areas, there was new enemies, there were additional things that we didn't see originally that gave the game a different aspect and gave us a different mindset when we went in playing, thinking like, oh, we're just going to run through, I know what this room is, I know what that room is. No, there were new puzzles, things we've never solved before, and I'm hopeful to see things like that here in Resident Evil 2. I think that that's something that they're going to incorporate. I think that the puzzle system is something they have to stick with, that it's really iconic to Resident Evil, being able to having to solve puzzles, move from room to room, go to one area of the RPD and then come all the way back to the other side because we had to get the rook or we had to get a bishop piece for the chessboard. It's just crazy to see, and I hope that we see a lot of those puzzles. But again, I hope that we see a lot of additional puzzles that we've never solved before and things that are going to make it harder for people like myself who have played all the originals and have beaten them multiple times. And it's going to make us think and make us have to work to enjoy and to beat this game as well. So I'm really excited for that. I hope that it continues to be that way. I hope they don't shy away from the puzzle system like they did with RE5 and RE6, where they were more run and gun, hack and slash, shoot and kill. I want to see classic Resident Evil 2 here, guys, and that's what I'm hopeful for, is that these new features and new game modes are going to add to that and bring a different dynamic to the game instead of hurt it and hold us back. One of my final fears, guys, is that the puzzle systems we see throughout Resident Evil 2 are not going to be the puzzle systems of old. They're not going to be very difficult to solve. They're not going to make us explore the RPD or go to different areas that we haven't been to or been to multiple times in order to retrieve an item that we couldn't get before. That was something that really gave Resident Evil its replayability to me. It's fun to me, something that made the game hard and difficult and made it interesting because you had to use your brain in order to figure out, well, I got this plate key now, where does it go? You have to remember where to go, things of that nature. And I think that the puzzles that we're going to see here are going to be a lot more like the Resident Evil 7 puzzles, the Happy Birthday skit, the Mia tapes, any of the tapes that you find throughout Resident Evil 7. I think that they're going to lean more towards that, and I'm kind of scared for that because I think that, again, the old puzzle systems were phenomenal. I want to see it more towards Resident Evil 1 Remake that they remade a few years ago and have it very close to our original game with, again, new areas, new rooms. I don't want to see the puzzles change very much. I do want to see them be different or have new puzzles that we haven't seen before. Again, for people like me who have played the game, to have a difficult time or have something to surpass, to accomplish. But I don't want to see them become something of picture puzzles or tape puzzles or things that we've seen, again, in Resident Evil 7, a lot of copy and paste that I've seen come over. So I want to see something that where we love, something that we've loved for years from Capcom and from Resident Evil, and even in their other game series such as Dino Crisis and Clock Tower. They have so much to offer, and I just love their survival horror. I think that they can do it right, and they could do it similar to how they did it before and still have fans enjoy it today. Alright, guys, and as we come to a close here, I have one more fear, one more hope to discuss with you guys. My final fear is that these character models don't hold as true to the original model as I would personally hope to. It's not really a fear, it's more of a nitpicky thing, I guess, in my perspective. I think that Claire, her jacket's a little different. I feel like the design was an actual design. It wasn't just an embroidering on the jacket. It looks great, and while they look phenomenal, I kind of wish, again, they held a little more true to their old character models and didn't use live action actors to model their faces after, to model their body structures after. Granted, Leon's RPD outfit looks great. I think that Sherry is probably the closest character to what she was in Resident Evil 2 1998, and I think that that looks phenomenal. I think that her model is a spitting image of what she was today. But I really just, I don't know, again, a personal thing for me, wish that the characters were a little bit more identical to their old models with an updated version. I think they did that phenomenally with Chris and Jill in Resident Evil 1 Remastered. I think that the Resident Evil 1 remake was a great game. And they did phenomenal with the remakes of the characters and the restructures of them in those games. And I kind of wish that that carried over into Resident Evil 2, 3, and any other game that they remake going forward. Again, not really a fear, not really anything that's going to affect gameplay, I guess, but it's more of a, how are you going to relate to this character that doesn't really look much like the original form of themselves? And it takes away from the game to me, for me personally, just a little bit. My final hope, though, guys, and I am going to end with a good thing, is I am so hopeful for other remasters in the future. There's been conferences and there's been interviews where execs in Capcom have said that, you know, they've hinted towards doing it. They've hinted towards remaking some things that they've made in the past, and I think that's great. I would love to see a Dino Crisis remastered. I think Dino Crisis wasn't a game that got a lot of a shine, or as much shine as it should have. I think it was a phenomenal 1-2 game series. I didn't even know the third one was released until this morning, and it looks kind of ridiculous, to be completely honest, but 1 and 2 were great, and I think that if they brought 1 and 2 back with their new RE engine, it would look phenomenal, and it would look so much better, and that game would get a lot more attention than it received back then, and it would be actually, you know, enjoyed, and I enjoyed it, and I would love to see that come back. I would love to see a Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake. That's another staple in the Resident Evil series, and we know that that's obviously, we've seen 1, we've seen 2, we have to know 3 is coming eventually, but to see it and just to discuss it now and to think about it, it's so exciting. And when it comes out, is it going to be so much more? Are they going to have so much more? What can they do with it? I'm excited to see what they do, and I really want to see those. Now, that being said, I don't want to see Capcom focus on strictly remakes. I think we obviously need new content. We need them to keep creating things that are going to keep us interested and keep us hooked into the Capcom name. And RE8 is inevitable. RE7 did so well, and I think it really rejuvenated the series and brought it back to what it used to be. They're really falling off, in my opinion, with 5, 6, Raccoon City Operation. There was a few titles in between that I'm like, I might stop playing Resident Evil, and I was really fearful when Resident Evil 7 came out to pre-order it, to even purchase it before playing it, and I'm glad that I did, because I really think that it did rejuvenate the series. It really did bring it back to its classic roots and its real survival horror feel. And I would love to see that story continue. I would love to see our characters Ethan and Mia again. I would love to see new titles and things in survival horror that we haven't seen. Outlast was a phenomenal game, and I think Capcom can do something similar along those lines. We need new titles. We need something that's going to keep us interested in Capcom's name. But I would also, again, love to see remakes and remasters of games from my classics and my childhood that need new graphics, to be quite frank. You've seen some of the gameplay of older games that we've had here, and they look horrendous. They look awful. And to see them remade with new technology and things that we have now would be amazing, and it would just give us gamers a whole new perspective on gaming and a whole new perspective on those titles in general. So I'm very hopeful to see Capcom do some more remakes. I'm very excited to see them drop some new titles, but this in general just makes me hopeful for Capcom's future, guys. Very excited to see the future of this company and what they're going to bring to us coming up here soon. Well, guys, that's going to do it here for us on the Raccoon City Survivor. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please comment below and let me guys know if you've enjoyed the video, if you guys have some of the same fears that I have, some of the same hopes that I have. How are you guys feeling about this Resident Evil 2 remake? Feel free to comment below and let me know. We'll maybe discuss them in a future video. Thank you guys again so much. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you receive any updates on Resident Evil 2. Anything that's coming out survival horror, pretty much anything Resident Evil, you will find here on the Raccoon City Survivor. Thank you guys again. Have a great day. Be a survivor.
Invincible.